Good evening, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please, since we had an extension of class, we shouldn't be below maximum capacity at the start of this class because we've had enough time to galvanize each other and call on every other party members to join the class. And we are, let's say, 20 minutes to go max. And the attendance here, it's nothing to write home about. Please, party leaders and chairman, please kindly call your class members to join the class today. Please. We are just less than four, and we are 30 minutes behind schedule as please kindly signify if you can hear me. Please call on your party members to join the class. Please call on your party members to join the class. Our attendance should not be anything short of maximum attendance, please. We shouldn't be begging for attendance. Please call on your party members. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Please, for attendance purposes, please ensure your username is your name and not the brand of your phone. I can see somebody named Galaxy A2 Core. Kindly change to your actual name for attendance records. Please, Galaxy A2 Core and the likes. Thank you. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's class of the 18th cohorts of the Electoral College. And for record purposes, this is still a very poor attendance from all parties. This is still a very poor attendance, considering the fact that we have to add additional 30 minutes to the start of this class. And I will still maintain this is still a very poor attendance for record purposes. And we need to do better. We need to do better. Party chairman, please ensure you notify your party members. Please notify your party members, party chairman. We shouldn't be less than 120, honestly speaking. Any moments from now, would have our facilitator on board and we go straight into the class by introducing our facilitator, and we'll begin the business for the day. Any moment from now, she is going to come on board. Thank you.
8208445. This is what your Zoom name always shows. I think I've told you over and again that it won't record your attendance that way. Please make sure you change your Zoom name to your real name because we can't know who you are by just this number. Okay, I think our facilitator is around. SSA, I'm sure you can take her recitation. I'll wait for her to settle down.
Yeah, thank you, Dee. Welcome, everybody, and welcome our facilitator. Thank you for the effort. You are truly appreciated. While she settles in, let's go over our profile together. Yeah, our facilitator for today is Ms. Risola Abiola. She is a young politician, communication specialist, and government relations professional. She is an advocate for gender equity and young youth inclusion in governance, who works at the intersection of politics and civil society to promote enhanced representation for marginalized groups in decision-making structures. Ms. Abiola was Special Assistant on Media to the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Yakubu Dogara. She also served on the Board of Trustees of the governing All Progressive Congress Forum from year 2014 to 2018. In 2022, she contested for the position of National Youth Leader at the APC's National Convention, the first woman since the formation of the party to do so. Risola is a United Nations Women Intergenerational Mentee, that is one of 25 young Nigerian women choosing to carry on advocacy regarding meeting goals outlined in the Beijing Platform for Action. She also once served on the advisory board of the World Youth Movement for Democracy. She runs the Derinsola Abiola Foundation, a non-profit domiciled in Abeokuta, her hometown, and established with the aim of carrying out social development programs. She is currently the Senior Special Assistant to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on Citizenship and Leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly do welcome Ms. Risola Abiola, our facilitator for today's topic, themed Challenges of Young People in Politics. Thank you. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much for having me. Good evening, everyone. And apologies for having to reschedule the time for our session today.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Would you need help with your slides, ma'am? You're
Yes,
welcome.
please, you'll help me project the
Oh,
slides.
all right, no problem. You'll come up shortly.
Thank you. Is it going to come off? I think she was trying to clean it. Oh, sorry. So sorry. Okay. So thank you so much. My apologies for the other time. I forgot that I hadn't muted my mic. If we're ready, I can start with the presentation now. Can I go ahead?
Yes, please, ma'am.
Okay. So good evening once again, everyone, and thank you very much for the warm welcome and for your patience. I'll be taking us on this very short session on challenges of young people in politics. The slides have been prepared to be very brief so that we also have time after the presentation to converse about the topic. I'll be taking questions once we're done, God willing. And so please listen attentively and let me know if there's anything that I've left out or further clarity required regarding anything at all that I say, or anything else that you would like to learn about, pertaining to the topic for today. So starting off, it's key that as young people who are interested in politics, we understand what politics actually is. And politics essentially just determines who gets what, when, and how. And in a multi-ethnic society like ours, I'm sure we're all aware of the key role that politics plays in ensuring that, we have adequate representation of people from different parts of the country when it comes to things related to public administration, whether it's at the federal level or at the state level, or even at lower levels like the local government. So it entails actions or activities, concerned with achieving and using power in a country or society. And it's an organized process of coming to a peaceful resolution regarding how resources are harnessed and deployed, as well as how society itself is structured, run, and maintained. Essentially, politics affects us in every single way that we can possibly think of. So inclusion and diversity, equity, these three words are, prompts when you think about the purpose of politics and political inclusion, especially for us young people. So representation and inclusion are important, and to preserve the legitimacy of the political process among members of the society and meet the goal of satisfactorily addressing social concerns in a peaceful and organized way, constituent groups must be adequately represented and afforded equal opportunities to aspire to positions of authority and advocate for issues important to them. So take the example of the Nigerian National Assembly. If we look at the House of Representatives, we have 360 constituencies, 360 members. And those constituencies are delineated on the basis of population. And then if you look at the Senate, which is the other chamber in the National Assembly, you will find that we have 109 senatorial constituencies. And essentially, these are, based on the idea of equality across states. So there's equity in terms of population in the House of Reps. There's equality in terms of representation, in the Senate. And that just ties into the point about representation and how politics is a vehicle through which will ensure adequate representation. If you go to the ministerial positions as well, it is, by law, you have to have at least one minister from every state. If we go to our respective states, it's also very key that when governors make appointments of commissioners, aides, they try to select people from all over the state so that no group feels left out. So that's a key component of representation. And then speaking of my youth inclusion specifically, as we're all young people who are interested in the political process. So young people account for between 65 to 70% of Nigeria's population, depending on which sources you're working with. But despite this, the level of representation remains low. And when we say it remains low, at the federal level, since this administration, and I'm not just saying it because I work in this administration, but we've seen more young people holding key positions, whether it's advisory roles, heading agencies, serving as ministers. We've seen examples in states as well. There are a number of young people in states like Lagos who are also occupying appointed positions. In Kaduna, I think we've seen young people emerge as well as local government chairman, working in government. In other states too, I'm very aware, after Not Too Young to Run was passed, we saw a very young speaker emerge in Oyo State. So we actually do have examples of young people occupying key positions. In the House of Representatives, we have the Young Parliamentarians Forum, and that forum keeps growing in numbers with each assembly, showing that, yes, the numbers are increasing. However, if we take a look at the level of representation generally, we are still not on equitable terms. We haven't even attained 50-50. Not to then talk of representation based on our population, which I think might not be very attainable, but even 50-50, we're not quite there yet. And it's even more pronounced when it comes to the issue of young women, particularly at the state levels. So in 2018, the Not Too Young to Run bill was enacted, lowering the age of eligibility for elective positions. And while some have been able to benefit from the new law, there is still a lot of work that needs to be done. So pathways to power. Sorry, okay. So pathways to power. There's running for office, which seems to be the most popular option amongst a lot of people. When you talk to the average young person who is looking to join a party, they tend to want to run for political office right away. So that's one option. It's not the only option. There's appointments. I currently occupy an appointed position, although I've also tried to run for different offices at different points. And then there's a third. Every time I have this presentation, I talk about updating these slides. So there's a third one, which is to work within party positions. So sometimes when it comes to party positions, it could be running for office as well. I ran for national youth leader. There are some positions within political parties where you're voted for. However, political parties also tend to choose their leaders through consensus. So the issue of zoning and key party stakeholders deciding what position is going where and then making a nomination. So that is a third option as well, serving within the political party system, especially when it has to do with the political space. So now, what are the major challenges faced by young Nigerians in politics? There's the issue of strategy. As I said earlier, you'll find many young people who maybe don't have any experience with wherever they're from. Somebody can just stand up and say he's running for office, and the first time you'll see it is maybe a month or two to the election on social media, and there's nobody aware of them in the community that they want to represent. I mean, it's good to aspire, And it's good to be a goal-getter, but it's also important that you do your homework. You cross your T's, you dot your I's, you have an actual strategy, you get into the system, you know, do things that are meaningful, that will earn you some kind of recognition. People should know what you stand for. You can't just stand up suddenly and say, I mean, you can, but it's not a very feasible strategy to actually being elected into office. Then there's the issue of funding as well. It's challenging for pretty much everybody, and politics is very capital intensive, although this is not the Nigerian reality alone. It's capital intensive everywhere, basically. But in our climate, it's even harder because it's expected that you spend a lot of the money from your own pockets, especially for those who are running for office. People tend to not really support you financially until you've gotten the ticket. And you only actually get that much support if you're running on the platform of an established political party that people are confident can win an election. So if maybe you're going through a lesser known party, it's a bit difficult bringing in funding. And then again, before the primaries, a lot of people running for office actually need support before their primaries as well, because primaries are very capital intensive. But then support usually does not come at that point. It comes after you've won. So there's this whole process of joining a party, consultations, and when you're doing consultations for someone who wants to run, it will cost you a lot of money. So you essentially need to have a war chest, no matter how modest it is, before you venture into certain things. And even if you're not running for office, even just organizing as maybe young people, you're able to organize amongst yourselves within your political party. You want to have activities, you want to engage people, you want to consult, you want to promote your party. These things cost money. And, raising funds to do these things could be quite challenging at times. Then there's the issue of party systems and processes. So earlier I made reference to how leaders sometimes emerge within political parties. And it also, unfortunately, sometimes applies to things like getting the ticket of a political party, where primaries don't actually hold. It's just a decision that's made, and then other people feel like they've been disenfranchised. So there's that challenge as well that a lot of young people go through. To resolve this, there are different pathways that one can explore, different options. So there's the understanding the way the system is, essentially who pays the piper dictates the tune. And if people have worked their entire lives to put a structure in place, fund it, there is usually the expectation that they're given more consideration than others when it comes to deciding who gets to do what within the party. So if you find yourself within that kind of system, it pays to build relationships with the key leaders there. Even if you want something, it doesn't go your way, you might very likely get something else. So you'll find that in states and even at the federal level, a lot of appointees are people who ran for one position or another, or indicated interest in one position or another and didn't get it. So that's one way that people are able to just, bear the system within these parties while we'll still work on, resolving the issues. And then you'll find even within political parties, the same parties, major parties, others that actually allow an even playing field and let everybody go to the primaries and fight for tickets. So that also happens too. So, and there's the issue of lack of enabling policies. We have a Not Too Young to Run, but we don't really have, Not Too Young to Run has lowered the age of eligibility. But considering the challenges that young people face, like the cost of running for office, we don't have a law that actually makes it mandatory for young people to emerge. An example would be the affirmative action policy that and law, as the case may be, that women advocates have been calling for. So something that actually says maybe it's 30% of positions have to go to young people, or 40% of positions have to go to young people. There's nothing that makes it mandatory for youth to be represented, whether it's in the leadership of political parties or general leadership when it comes to public office in states, local governments, or whatever. Essentially, everybody has to fight for it. And considering the disadvantages that a lot of young people are exposed to, like the issue of funding, it might actually be helpful to have these policies in place. So in addressing these challenges, the next slide actually lists solutions. But as I'm going along, I think I'm already also talking about solutions, but I'll elaborate further on the solutions on the next slide. Then there's the issue of cultural bias. I'm not quite done yet. So there's the issue of cultural bias as well. One of the challenges And it's that there are areas where they believe if you're young, then you don't really, you haven't had so much experience and you're not quite qualified to represent the people. So there's that as well. And in response to that, is also very key that we as young people try to present ourselves as responsible people when we're engaging and even when we're not engaging. So if you know that your culture is averse to certain things, it could be your appearance, it could be the way you speak, just try to be respectful in your approach to things that have to do with your community when you're meeting with your elders, your leaders, stakeholders in that community. And just try to do things that would put their heart at rest and not make them feel like, oh, these are the same young people that we've been complaining about, and look at what they're doing already. So just try to speak respectfully, try to be civil in your approach, and let them know that you're a serious person. So if they're aware of what you do, for instance, they know you have a job and that you're okay and you've been contributing to the community, you're not fomenting trouble, you're not, sponsoring people who make trouble. It helps in their assessment of you when you eventually want to vie for something, or when they're called upon to make nominations for, because there are times as well for appointed positions when leaders in different communities are reached out to and asked to make nominations for people amongst them who they think are qualified. Then there's the issue of violence, which scares off a lot of people, especially women in our politics. Unfortunately, it is still a part of our politics, although we've seen a reduction in the level of violence. However, it is still part of our political reality. Then there's lack of access and mentorship. There are lots of young people who are interested in politics, but don't quite know how to go about it. And they're not able to find people to mentor them and put them through. So that's one challenge as well. And excessive monetization, which is related to the funding issue that I mentioned earlier. It's a lot worse when you want to run for office. Everything will cost you money, and it has to be good money, or else you'll waste your money and then you still won't get any results. However, it's also key to note that spending does not mean that you will get what you're looking for. So there has to be a balance there. Don't let people take advantage of you, but at the same time, you should understand that it's also, the monetization is also cultural, because there's an aspect of the Nigerian culture where being responsible, for instance, is tied to doing, fulfilling some financial obligations. So there's that as well. So just keep it in mind. Be careful with what you spend, but know that there are situations in which you absolutely have to. And in such situations, you just need to. So solutions, how can these challenges be addressed? So knowledge, capacity building, strategic thinking. If you intend to run, say 2027, by now you should have started consultations, basically. And again, also try to ensure that when you do emerge, it's not like, who is this person? Try and maybe have like, a track record, do something in your community, have a track record of addressing genuine community challenges. Start from there. You could be a foundation. It could be that maybe where you work, you're able to mentor other young people. Just try and do something that actually positively impacts your community, that people can point to as something that you've done. Again, it doesn't mean you will get what you're looking for, but it helps you, puts you in a better position than if, otherwise. Networking is key. Try to meet, the key people and forge relationships. So that there are some of us who, personally, I feel like the approach to networking these days might be a bit too, I don't know, a bit too, would I say methodical? People just go somewhere, try to meet somebody. That's not necessarily what networking entails. Networking, in my own experience, has been identifying people that I feel I have things in common with and then forging a relationship. So whether it's mentorship or it's with relationships with my peers, professional relationships, political relationships, I believe in substance and mutual value addition and exchange, and in identifying kindred spirits, so to speak, and then working with them. It's much easier than just trying to meet everybody and stay in touch with everybody. It doesn't really work like that. It has to be natural in my experience. Then crowdfunding, again, what has been able to help a number of us is based on the work that we've done and the track record that's been established. We do have quite a number of people who are interested in our work. So every time we say, oh, I want to do this, they're willing to support. And it's also important that as young people, we try to support other young people who we know have the capacity to deliver. So crowdfunding is an option that we can explore as young people venturing into politics, whether it's for running for office, whether it is just mobilizing yourselves as young people within your political party, within your community, you will need resources, and being able to crowdfund is important. Leaders respect you a lot more when they're not doing everything for you, so to speak. So partnerships, consultations, and advocacy. So learn to forge partnerships as well with other young people. We're all in similar positions, right? We're all young people trying to find our way in politics and public administration. So it helps when you identify again kindred spirits amongst young people, come together based on the aims that you're trying to achieve, based on your common objectives, your common aims, and then work as one. Numbers, there's power in numbers. You don't have to like people to work with them. You just really have to have the same or similar interests. So try and just work with people that you know that you can have a relationship with, a professional relationship with, and then try to work as one. It's much easier if you're lobbying as a group, especially when you're just starting out. When you've ascended in quotes to a certain level, you can then now start lobbying individually. But if you're doing it as a group, it gives more leaders will accord you more respect when they know that you're coming in numbers and that you have people working with you. But then the challenge with that is you also have to learn that there has to be a leader in every group. So there are times when if you're lobbying as a group, you have to prioritize certain people over yourself. It also teaches you to be selfless, but it's also entrusting that your time will come, and then you continue to put in the efforts that you need to, and eventually all of that effort, it compounds and it pays off. So again, lobbying, I've already gone into the issue of lobbying. If you're able to like forge or form pressure groups within your respective political parties, you can lobby your leaders. If you have maybe the first thing you might want to lobby for is a party position. There is always a position of national youth leader, deputy youth leader, zonal youth leader. But beyond that, there should be people amongst you who also have the capacity to deliver in other roles. So you can actually have like a list of party positions. Take, for example, your party convention is coming up. You need to change your leadership. You should at least start lobbying at least a year in advance. List the positions that you're interested in as a group of young people, and then start to speak with all the key power brokers within that structure that matter. We want this, we want that, we want this, we want that. Again, you won't necessarily get it because there's a way these agreements are made. When it comes to political positions, different interests need to be considered and accommodated. So you won't necessarily get it, but it puts you in front of the important people. So even when another opportunity opens up, it could be one of you or two of you or three of you that they might want to put somewhere else. So it's very important that you note that as well. Then law enforcement, that is for the issue of violence. Essentially, they're meant to prosecute such cases. And then mentorship, again, comes back to the issue of networking. In my days of just starting out, I approached a number of people who held positions that I had in mind that I would want to hold someday. And I've had quite a number of mentors during my journey, and it's been very helpful. So there are some people who say they don't need mentors. Not everybody's big on mentorship, and it works for them. Different things will work for different people. But what has worked for me personally is I've been able to learn from the experiences of other people. And no matter how much you think you know or how much experience you think you have, it's always important and it helps to be able to also, gain or, have insights from somebody who is a lot more experienced than you. And age does that. It's with age and wisdom and how long they have spent within the system. And mentors also support you in that you could have an idea, something in mind that you want to do. Again, with resources, they could also be quite resourceful. They could be very helpful in that regard. So you could have like a number of things that you want to do. Your mentors can actually help you to pull the resources that you need. So they can serve as patrons, not necessarily giving you money directly, but they can refer you to people who can assist. So that's another advantage of having somebody who is a lot more experienced, who has a much wider network than you as a mentor. But understand as well that mentorship is not a take and take and take kind of relationship. You have to be somebody that adds value to them. And it's also important that they don't see you as being bothersome. So you need to strike a balance between learning from that person, actively wanting to engage that person, and also understanding that, they're busy and they also have their own life to live. And so they won't always be available, but just try as much as possible to respect their time, respect their space, and then, just manage that relationship. And I would always advise, I feel like mentorship programs sometimes feel a little forced. So it just helps to, again, try and identify somebody whose vibe you like, so to speak, and then approach them and then see if you're able to get in with them. I would also advise you to apply for opportunities. There are lots of opportunities. There's a legislative mentorship initiative and quite a number of others being run by organizations or individuals. There's the LGLA, Latif Jakonde Leadership Academy by Lagos State. My office is kicking one off in about 3 months to God willing. So once we're ready with that, we'll share with Electoral College. We mentioned it in the last, I think I mentioned it in the last session I had, but we're very close to kicking off now, and we should be kicking off soon by God's grace. So be on the lookout for those kinds of initiatives. But it's also important that the ones you sign up for are the ones that also resonate with the goals that you have. So you're not just doing one program after another, although there are some people who do like that. So just ensure that whatever it is you're signing up essentially is being organized by an organization that you trust, and that you look through it, you do your research, and you're confident that you can actually learn and make the best of the opportunity. And then, of course, if you're applying for such things, also make very good preparations. So you put in a very good application. And what you're doing right now is actually one of such programs. So I would like to commend you for seeking out this opportunity and also encourage you to seek out a lot more. Then ultimately, please, I mean, you don't necessarily have to join a political party, but I think it's important that you do, because it is through parties that leaders emerge. There's no independent candidature yet in our laws. We have to be part of parties to emerge as candidates. And even if you're not going to run, your presence within a party and the presence of others like you will influence who eventually gets to emerge. Grassroots politics is a whole different kettle of fish. It is not so easy. However, it's something you can master. And even at that level, you need very strong advisors. So the way you find mentors who are maybe serving in high government offices, you also need mentors at that local level who will explain things to you that you don't know and that you don't understand and put you through on how to navigate your local politics. Because it's also very key that you work on building a political base at the local level and having key connections there too. So thank you very much for listening. I believe with that, I have come to the end of the presentation, and we can now take questions or further comments.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that precise session. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we are happy to hear that the Leadership Academy we spoke about in your last class is coming to fruition in no time. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's time for questions. Please signify by a raise of hands, and we can quickly take those questions in numbers. All right, Adeniyi Oluwa, kindly unmute. Are you there?
Good evening, sir. Yes, sir, I'm
Okay.
there, sir. Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening,
Good
welcome.
evening. Good evening, ma. Thanks so much for this class, ma. Please, I would like to ask, as a young person, because if we look at the political system, and even though they've signed the not too young to, like, we will see that it's still much pretty difficult for a young person to emerge, citing the fact that, okay, it's all these old people that are there. But let's say, for instance, now you want to run, maybe, though we know that we must spend, but let's say, for instance, now you don't have much money to buy delegates and the rest. Is there any other way one can kind of win the election, even without buying delegates? And also, is there any way political parties can also ensure that there is nothing like maybe all this money bag, like all these financial inducements during primary election? Thank you.
Okay, so we'll take more questions. Sorry, please, I need the name of, okay, Adeni, that's the person
Yes,
who spoke, yes?
Yes, Adeniyi
yes, ma.
spoke.
Okay, so I think I'll take more and then just address everything.
Okay, Yusuf, Zia or Yusuf?
Okay. Good evening, Ma, and good evening, Ua.
Good evening, please. Go straight at it.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay. I am Zia Yusuf by name. Sorry, this class has been the only class that I participated, or I come to this cohort to participate. I have participated in the last cohort and I've been graduated. So I missed this class. This is the only reason that I joined the cohort. Okay. Mine is what we said earlier, the leadership training, the leadership place. How is it and how would you prepare it? I want to join it. Prepare it.
Sorry, I can't hear you clearly.
Can
Are
you
you
please-
asking how to apply for the leadership program?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, all right.
Rashida, kindly unmute.
Antashi. Antashi.
Rashida,
Good
you have the
evening.
mic.
Can
Good
you
evening.
please?
Yes, please.
So my question is, since I noticed that okay, they said we are not too young to run now in Nigeria, but the fact that they did not change the price of the form for candidates who is willing to contest for election position. How is it possible for a young person to get that form at that price as the others that has established and grown?
All right, thank you. Aaron, kindly unmute.
Good
Aaron
evening.
Paul. Good evening.
Yes, good evening, Electoral College. Good evening, our facilitator for today. I want to
Good
start
evening.
by first of all saying that, or will I say, commenting on her lectures. It was sound and then quite insightful. Please,
Thank you.
am I
Please get at it. Yes, you
okay?
are audible, please.
Okay, thank you very much. So my main question is, to me, I see politics as a competition of ideas, but I see a lot of young Nigerians saying that they want to run, they want to run. So please, ma, can you in any way try to highlight how can a young person who doesn't have money navigate his way into a political office and then be able to make a mark within the first 8 years? Thank you. That's my question.
Thank you, Aaron. And Nelson, you have the mic. Ota Nelson.
Yeah, good evening, all.
Good evening.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. My question, based on what you spoke about, is I discovered that the youths are looking for already made platform. Is it not possible for a youth to go to a party, like one of the 18 parties available, the list of them, win election through that platform? Is it the youths are the problem, or is it the electoral system? Because I have seen perhaps in developed climb, I'm trying to recall, where a person had to use a party not known to win. And I've seen something happen, same Mimiko, Governor Mimiko. Yes, he won election in the platform. Is it that our electoral system does not accommodate this lesser party, or we don't have a voice there? Must we go to the big parties to win in Nigeria? Based on your own experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Prince, kindly unmute. Prince
Good
Emmanuel
evening, leader. Good evening, leaders. Okay,
Good
it's a
evening.
privilege to be the organizers and the great lecturer. Indeed, the lecture was so inspiring. I bless the Lord, the name of the Lord this day. I'm a politician to the core, and I also have a professional career. I have been a party executive. I've been served as the party secretary. Have served as a chapter chairman. And in all of this, I still fall under the age of 35. And my ambition was to run as a local government chairman. When I started consultation, okay, I support, I play a very simple party, Young Progressive Party, YPP. Now I was to aspire as the local government chairman. Then I started, like the lecturer said, that you work with the stakeholders, the people that have been ahead of you. Normally they are not my mentors, but because they have been in a political field, most of them are not even in my party, which is YPP. Now, like 3 of them said that I am good to go, but as a single person, that the politics, I don't know if it's constitutional or it is about the terrain. I'm from Akwa Ibom State. That I don't think, they don't think I will be able to make it since I'm still a single person. That how I wished I was a married person, irrespective of my age. I don't know if you understand where my question is going. So is it constitutional? I know that once you clock 18, you are entitled to vote and be voted for. That's to say you can aspire. Now, in this regard, is it constitutional that, because I've gone through a lot of local government chairmen, I don't think I've come across a local government chairman that is single. So is it a party setting, or is it a INEC setting, or is it Federal Republic of Nigeria Constitution? That's my question, ma.
Okay, so I think I will take the questions so far.
Right, okay.
I might summarize a few in answering because I've seen more than one question about funding. So I'm going to be as honest as possible. Adeni asked, how do you run elections without funds? You can't. You can't. So okay, let me break it down, right? Minus the issue of delegates and things like that. The funny thing is, even the smaller parties, my apologies, I wouldn't say smaller parties, but even the lesser known parties, you will find that people there at the grassroots often have all of these expectations too. Sorry, please hold on. Be quiet, I'm on a call. So people in the lesser known parties often have these expectations as well. So even if you're running from billing, so to speak, from in the major parties and then you go to smaller parties, if you're still intending to contest the elections, they might even be more particular about getting money out of you because again, the parties are less established, especially in that community. They maybe might not have that kind of structure. They might not be seeing candidates often. So the fact that you have come, you have to just prepare to do a lot of spending. So there's that. And then there are actual legitimate expenses related with elections. So it's not just about giving delegates funds before or during your primaries. Take the primary process, for instance. There's something they call like consultations, and it is like an established culture within political parties that when you go and see elders within the party, no matter whether you eventually buy the form or not, it is customary that you go along with gifts. Sometimes it could be, gifts, maybe wrappers, lace, brocade, or, food items, cash. That is customary. It is cultural, so to speak. It is deeply ingrained in our political culture. And even minus it being politics, it is generally not, it is frowned upon, so to speak, culturally. And I think, it applies in my own place. I don't know what it's like for everybody else, but if you're visiting a leader, this might actually be your first time or you don't visit often and then you want to run for office, you're not expected to show up empty-handed. And it doesn't mean they will hand the ticket over to you. You're just doing what is expected of you. And this is something you will do irrespective of the party that you belong to. So it's not about just the big parties alone. And then minus all of that, if you go to wards, it's expected that your party will have structures in each ward. Say you want to run for a House of Assembly, you maybe it's one local government or there's 2 constituencies within that local government. Let's say you have 10 wards under you. Ideally, you should go to each ward to consult party stakeholders there. Again, you can't tell people to assemble and then show up empty-handed. Even if it's just something for refreshments, you should give them. So that's another expectation. And it's not because you're not buying delegates at that point, you're not buying votes at that point. You're doing what is expected because you want to run. And then you will meet your local government stakeholders as well. You're supposed to give them something. At least you've called them, they've gathered, especially if you're from a place that has like remote areas. Everybody comes together to see you for your sake, to hear you speak. At the very least, you should give them enough to cover their transport fare. This is just like I'm breaking down actual legitimate, like required expenses for you. And then let's say you've gone into the primaries and you've won. congratulations. But then you need to have your agents at your polling booths. So let's say you have maybe 6 polling units in each ward, you have 10 wards, that's 60 polling units. For each agent, maybe you give each agent 10,000 or 20,000. In 60 places, that's 1.2 million for your agents alone. So, like, you have to make these arrangements because at the end of the day, they are there to monitor your votes. If you give your agents money, that's not inducement and it's not something criminal. Ideally, you should make provisions for them. So, all of these, if you're running for office, you will promote your candidacy. So, let's say you're doing adverts, you're doing jingles, you're printing posters, you're putting up billboards, you're going on radio to speak. For as long as it is political, it's a campaign, they will charge you. So these are things that you have to have funding for. If you're not able to handle it alone, ideally you should have people to support you. And that's why it's also key that if you're running, and now I'm going to answer the question about do you have to run in the big parties? No, you don't. We've actually had lots of cases of young people in this same country who ran on the platform of smaller parties and won their elections. So the lesser known parties are actually good for something. If you're popular where you're from and you want to run for office, and maybe you don't like the system within the big parties, or maybe you've left one of the big parties because of some issue that you could not live with. If you have the resources at your disposal and you are truly popular, you can actually go to a small party and win. So what you will just have to do is that as long as the party already exists, just understand that you and your people are probably leaving the other one, or you've already built like a structure, and then you go into the new party together. You will have to take on the responsibility of funding the structure in your constituency for your election. Otherwise, nobody else will do it. And one thing with politicians at the grassroots level is that all of them, okay, let me not say all of them, a lot of them have membership cards for several parties. So somebody can be talking to you today and claim it's from APP. If you go to the APC ward meeting, you will see him there. If you go to PDP ward meeting, you will see her there. So many of them are actually, they have allegiances across political party lines. Many of them get all these cards because they know that candidates will come, they will get something from them. So you have to have your people and you have to be able to take care of your people in a way that they stand for you and they protect your vote on election day. You need resources to do all of this. So it's either you have the money or you're able to mobilize the resources. But if you go into the elections without any funding at all, I'm sorry, it's not going to work. You need, even in saner crimes, in foreign, the so-called saner crimes in foreign countries, in the US, for instance, you'll see candidates raising millions of dollars just for expenditure on Facebook. Go and Google Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, AOC. Look at how much she spent on Facebook ads alone for her campaign, the number of times that she has run. Like, it cost them millions of dollars to run their election. So it's not a Nigerian thing, it is a general political reality. You need to have funding. If you don't have it, you should be able to raise it. It's very, very important. And again, it doesn't have to be APC or PDP. You need to just know what you're doing. About the final question that came about whether you're a single is an issue, it's one of those cultural things. If you're married, they look at you as being more responsible, so to speak. But if you've been conducting yourself well, I don't think it should be that much of an issue. I have a friend who was elected local government chairman as a single man. One thing you also have to be mindful of is the fact that if you've been taking care of people or they know that you're good, they don't want to lose you, they will find an excuse to give you if they don't want to support you. So you don't feel too bad about it. We've had cases of a woman being from a local government, marrying somebody from another local government in the same state. Then when she wanted to run for office, she was told that, oh, because she has married from another local government, she cannot run in their office anymore. Now, in her own case, her being married was the problem. So that's just for you to understand that when it comes to grassroots politics, they will tell you all sorts of things. See, then go try and whine you. That one is a normal thing. No agree, no make them whine you. Do you understand? Don't let anybody whine you. If you want to run, go to the key leaders there, talk to other people and do what you have to do. Sometimes it's good to listen to advice, but if they are not the only people that you have to listen to, then give it a chance. Engage your delegates. See, at the end of the day, right, sometimes we have to fight for things. If they are telling you things that don't make sense, right, and if it feels like you're being discriminated against, then do what you have to. As long as you have been responsible and you have done well and you have acted well. Meanwhile, if there's somebody you're serious about to marry, I'm a big advocate of marrying. So if you have somebody and you're serious, marry, it could also help you socially. It helps with social capital. But if that's not the case, don't rush it. But in the meantime, if you can run, If what you have to do is invoke powers higher than your local, like your stakeholders at that local area, then do that. Because usually when women have such issues too, they then maybe try and find their way to the first lady of that state or somebody much higher up within the political rank in that state, and then they're able to resolve the issue. So just make sure you do what you need to do and consult very widely. Other questions on how to apply for the leadership program. So for our own, we will share with Electoral College, seeing as I'm the facilitator here, once we're all set. For now, I wouldn't want to share because we're still putting everything in place, but we'll share with Electoral College once we're ready, God willing, and I trust that they will share with alumni of the program. On the price of forms and how can young people get forms, I'm afraid the cost of forms is the list of your concerns as a young person who wants to run for office. I said something earlier during my presentation about how running for office seems to be the most popular option with young people, but let us put things in perspective. Thousands of people will run for House of Reps. Only 360 can be elected every 4 years. Thousands of people will run for Senate. Only 109 can be elected every 4 years. Thousands of people will run for governor. Only 36 can be elected every 4 years. Running for office is not the only pathway to, being able to make things happen within public service. So the cost of forms, as far as I'm concerned, if you can't, the core forms might be expensive, right? Political parties tend to give waivers to women. In my party, I know that you only pay for expression of interest. You don't pay for nomination form as a woman. But then, even if they waive these things for you, and we also have like concessions for young people below 35. But even if they waive this cost, they're not going to waive the cost of engaging your constituents. They're not going to waive the cost of your consultations in your constituency. They're not going to waive the cost of running your election, of paying your agents, of doing your consultations. So I think we need to be ready and we need to be very realistic about the fact that you need funding to be able to run for office. And having the money still doesn't guarantee that you will win, but you actually need the funds to be able to do it. So it's not just about you can get a form, and if you don't have any funding, how do you proceed with your actual campaign? So that's something as well to think about. Then how a young person without funds can get into political office and make a mark in the first 8 years. You don't get 8 years at a go. If you're running for local government chairman, I think that's 3 years. If you're running for any other office, it's about 4 years. So you don't get 8 years as a go. There is no guarantee that you actually be elected or re-elected. So again, the issue of money, if you don't have it, you should be able to raise it. It's important. I'm not going to tell you, somebody might have been able to, but I don't know anybody who was able to run for office and then win. So the only example I could give, people who rode on the wave of maybe Labour Party in the last elections, we saw some people emerging victorious in certain areas. And as far as I know, it's not that they didn't spend at all. They still put in some effort, but they relied more on the popularity of their then presidential candidate within the community that they were running in. And then eventually, many of them now have gone on to other parties. So that's another thing. And then we've also seen that happen with ANPP as well. During the time of President Muhammadu Buhari, may Allah forgive him and have mercy on his soul. When he was in ANPP, we saw a lot of people who just were able to fight and secure the ticket. They didn't do much campaigning, but then they won. So you might be on the lookout for such opportunities. If there is somebody who is viral in a particular community and he has a lot of support there, you just might be able to, if you're able to fight and get the ticket of that party, you can just actually relax, and the votes that person gets and the support that they get will impact the other candidates on the platform of that party and enable them get elected. So that's the only way that I know that you might be able to secure an electoral victory with minimal funding. If you're able to ride on somebody else's wave, somebody who is a lot more popular, you would still have to consult, let people know you, but you would not have to spend as much as other people who are, running on more established platforms. Can the youth go to lesser known parties and win elections? I believe I've addressed that as well. You just have to be ready to fund that structure in the constituency that you're running for. So it is easier to do with things like House of Assembly, things like House of Rep. So it's easier to do within those kinds of smaller spaces that the number of local governments you have, the number of wards, the number of polling units, and then the resources at your disposal can handle the expenses that will be the resources at your disposal can handle the expenses that running that election will entail. But you have to be very popular to be able to deliver on that. So if that is a strategy that you want to take, then work on your popularity. And again, popularity has to do with showing workings. And right now you have have to spend money to get that too. So just know that you need to have the resources to do that, or again, ride on somebody else's bandwagon. So there's that. So the electoral, there's nothing, it's not the electoral system that is not accommodating, it's the feasibility of those systems. So if you go into a system where there is no structure, you don't have the funding to put a structure in place for the time that you need it. It's not INEC that is the issue with the election. It's the fact that you can't deliver on that vehicle. So that's that. Has Not Too Young to Run helped with youth inclusion? I think I saw that in the comment section. It actually has. So even beyond just young people being elected, we've also seen the spillover into appointed positions. You see more young people being appointed, but we're still not at the level that we would want to be. And it's also very important that young people who do get into office are able to, be a good example and make it easier for other young people to come in, not be a source of criticism that other young people would have to deal with, or that will be used to justify further exclusion of young people. So I believe I've addressed the first batch of questions.
Yes, thank you. You did justice to each and every one of the questions. How many more can I take as stretch? 5 more?
So I believe Mr. Disu's hand has been up since during my presentation, and I think there was one other person, but I can't see him right now. But I think
Honestly, I'm taking Disu next. He was the first in
Okay.
class today.
Okay, so I think we can take maybe 6 more, and then I'll just address everything together, then I would have to run.
Ajibola Disu, you have the mic.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Sorry, very quick question. When you were talking about crowdfunding, yeah, okay, in the last election, I contested and I tried crowdfunding, but one of the things about crowdfunding is that, I mean, I didn't even get like people, me and some of the other people that we tried is like, it virtually wasn't even bringing any funds at all. In fact, most of the funds came from people that we know. But I just want to find out, is there, because I always wanted to ask, what's the secret behind? Because most times I look at crowdfunding, I see people raise $200,000, $300,000, someone in New York, but I don't know. I think in Nigeria, I personally have not even really witnessed like people contesting for office or anything, really winning money. It's just every time it has to be somebody in New York, or they're building a new special bicycle that can run through space. And I just want to know, one, I mean, what's the secret of really crowdfunding in Nigeria? Because this is something that I've been, and I just hear people always talk about. I don't see it really happening in Nigeria. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ogene Karo. Ogene Maro. Yes, you have the mic.
Okay, good evening, sir. Good evening, ma. Okay, my question is not about elections. Okay, I run something called Government Uncle. It's just a civic education initiative where I use Pidgin to talk about government politics on TikTok majorly. So I tried reaching out to National Orientation Agency, seeing that there's a similar interest. What I kept receiving was I reached out to them in Abuja via phone call. I was told to reach out to the persons in my state, and in my state, they were saying that I should get a letter across, and the letter will be a letter of request to have a meeting before. And when we have the physical meeting, I will then like explain what I want the partnership to be about. So I've observed that thing around not checking mails. If you want to get a contact with certain persons, you need to go to state capital and things like that. So even seeing certain appointees of state governor, apart from you, from the president, I think I saw one time that you came to Delta State and traveled around some states doing citizenship and leadership training, something of that sort. I can't remember the topic around it. But I observed that these persons, which is where people get the whole idea of young persons not being accountable or committed to leadership positions when they are appointed. These persons are said to be young, so they should be like this, paying attention to things that young persons pay attention to, like responses on social media. You send some LinkedIn messages, they will not respond to it. Facebook messages, and they have accounts, they are posting, they don't open it if, apart from not responding, because on some of this platform, you will know somebody has opened your message. So I want to know, is there another way to reach out to these persons? For someone like me that is starting out something like this, most of the support I've gotten was from fellow people, like, okay, let's say civil society groups. Like I've gotten huge support from Mr. Kule Lawa, for example, the likes of EIE Nigeria, but there's the public service include National Orientation Agency, special advisors to presidents on policy communication. Those are the kind of persons that I think that should be able to, even INEC through their voters education platform. Those are the kind of persons that we should partner together, but they don't respond to mails. You must get to the state capital, to their physical offices, and most of these, like what I do, and some persons that I've come in contact with, we're like in the grassroots of the thing. So we are not having easy access to go to state capital. So what is your suggestion? What is your advice about how I go about contacting or partnering with these kind of organizations? I think that's all.
Yeah, Abdul Hamid, Abdul Latif. You have the mic. Abdul Hamid, Abdul Latif.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you for the session. Although this is my first time to ask questions during the meeting. Yeah, actually, my question is regarding the issue of funding. Although our country has come to a situation whereby if you don't have money, no one will vote for you, no one will support you, and many people, like majority of people that don't have something, mostly they have a good intention, they are willing to do something very good. So please, is there any way whereby maybe an advice or something, or like kind of a policy or some kind of advice in a nutshell, whereby the youngs can be using as a tool, whereby they can be able to like organize themselves, educate themselves, and know like it's not whenever you have money. Because now in our current situation now in Nigeria, if you don't have money, no one will even vote for you. No one will even listen to you. Even if you have the plans or other something, you said, okay, it is poverty. That's why you know every calculation and other stuff. And whereby the politicians right now, if you don't have money, no one would vote for you. So is there any means or any way we can be able to, like, someone can be able to run a party or so? Although I know during elections you need to like pay for the delegates, your supporters. Yeah, I know that is the basics, but is it necessary that you need to spend money before you can win an election? Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed Faisal Abdullahi. You have the mic, please.
Hello?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, let me just go straight to the point. My question
Yeah.
is actually, what are the practical steps can we young Nigerians take to enter politics without being used and sidelined after election? I hope she has gotten the question.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
How do Mohammed? How do you, Mohammed? Please, you have the mic now. How do Mohammed? Are you there? Kindly unmute. How do Mohammed?
I think you can move on to others if he's not available.
Yeah. Timothy, please go ahead. Timothy Todo.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, the facilitator. My question is, I would like to get an advice on the how to navigate the murky water of politics of loyalty, because I realize that Plateau State, the dynamics of their politics there is politics of candidate loyalty, That unlike my state, Kogi State, which is they are more focused on the party. Once the head, the person that is the governor of the state, the entire positions in the state mostly goes that same line in line with the governor. They all move down to the same party with the governor. But I realized that from my observation of the political situation in Plateau State, you find out that they are more focused on the candidates. You can find out that when they are voting, their pattern of voting, they can vote in at the governorship election, they can vote in the candidate of PDP. Then when it comes to their local government, they vote, they decide on a different party, focusing on just the candidate. You can find out that a local government can have APC as the chairmanship, the winner for chairmanship. Then you go down to councillorship or the state house of assembly. So their voting pattern differs from that of my state. So I'm trying to get an advice because I'm someone that I'm more of a, I believe that if I would like to run my own, if I would like to run for an election, it mustn't be that I must go in line with whoever is the governor at that time. I believe that if I'm in a different party, I will still be able to make efforts to see if I can emerge victorious. So I would like to get, it's just an advice I'm seeking to see how I can balance the situation in my state compared to that of Plateau State.
Thank you.
I think we have 6 now.
Yes, 6.
I'll just address the points raised. Mr. Diso asked, what's the secret behind crowdfunding? I'll say the secret behind crowdfunding is to be Muhammadu Buhari. And that's based on my own experience. So in 2014, 2015, that was about the time that shortly after the APC had been formed. And the then General Muhammadu Buhari had won the primaries. And I would say for me, as a young person, that was like really the first time that I saw people coming together to crowdfund for a candidate. There's a friend of mine who had a recharge card initiative then when if you buy a recharge card and load it, a certain amount of money goes to the campaign. So people were rushing those recharge cards. And when I say rushing, like really rushing it. And then you had other people that would, there was an old woman, I can't recall the state now, that put together all her savings, 20 naira notes, 50 naira notes, like you would see different currencies. And then when Buhari came to her state during the campaign, she was able to reach him and give that money to him. So I would say the secret to crowdfunding is having people who 100% believe that you're the right person for the job and are willing to support you at any point. Before APC, he ran a number of times. This was a man who had 12 million votes, like on his own. Again, if you're looking for an example of somebody that wants to run for office without money, look at General Muhammadu Buhari. Like he was running on a platform that was essentially just his own. He wasn't throwing money around like everybody else. Everybody knew him to be frugal. And it was because of that reputation and that perception that people supported him the way they did. So again, if you're known for something, people who resonate with that image and who believe in you as a person and believe that you can deliver on what you're seeking, they will rally around and they will support you. And we've also seen cases where, again, so another example in 2023, when the APC stated that the cost of forms was 100 million naira, it was not Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu who bought his own form. It was like somebody took it upon himself to buy it and present it to him. So another option is, even if you do have the ability or the capability, this was a man as at that point who had supported so many other people to be prominent within politics. So you could see that the campaign, and I was part of that campaign, was driven by people who felt like this man has played a key role in my journey, and it is my turn to now stand up and support him. So that is another way to ensure that people are willing to crowdfund for your campaign, even when you have the capacity. So there's a lot of things that I mean there are ways that you can actually get to that point. Maybe as young people, we haven't all built our profiles to that point, but there are young people amongst us who are able to, rally a lot of support through their networks. And it always helps when people know what you stand for and are willing to support you. So that's one thing. You should be very clear about your views. You should have work that you can point to. If it's community development, if it's a cause that you support, if it's, for instance, there are people who are very active in gender advocacy. If someone like that says, oh, I'm running for office, you will find other people who maybe want a stronger gender voice in wherever it is that that person is headed. And then they will stand up and they will support that person and they will contribute to their campaign. So it's very important that you have something that can easily be identified with your brand. And that's how you find your people. With General Buhari, then General Buhari, it was the fact that this is a man who has integrity. This is somebody we can trust. This is a man that, we think will do well for us and represent our interest. With Asiwaju, this is a man who has built so many leaders, and now it is our turn to show our leader that we are solidly behind him and that we have also gotten to the point where we can support him. So you will find other people like that at lower levels, at other levels, people are willing to support them because of how much they have done and how much they have invested. So I think we just need to put in the effort as young people to also be known for something good. And our people will find us. At my small level, so to speak, when I ran for national youth leader of the APC, I got support. Like I've always had, friends who are willing to support my projects, even when I'm not particularly so big on, like personally, I don't like to bother people. But once there's news that, oh, Risola is running for something or Risola is trying to do something, I have people who reach out and say, oh, how can I support this? What can I do regarding this? When I was going to try for elective office as well, a lot of people reached out and they supported me. So to me, I wouldn't say that crowdfunding is something that I don't understand. It is a reality. We've seen it happen. I think we just need to keep working on being at the point where, we have earned it. And that's why for me personally, when political parties say this is the cost of our presidential form, and then everybody is saying, oh, it's too high. I don't think so, because ideally, before you can run for president, you should have worked to a point where there are people who are willing to support you, and the form should be the list of your worries. Even if you can't buy it, people should be willing to buy it for you. So again, it's about building that social capital over time. So I think that's what we need to focus on as young people. And like you rightly noted as well, it is often within your network, people who know you, that are willing to, invest in your political adventures and your political experiments, so to speak, because sometimes it really does feel like an experiment. So there's that as well. So most of the funding that you will draw will be from within your immediate circle, except you're like a Buhari, except you're like a Muhammad Buhari, where you're immensely popular, and then everybody who believes in you wants to support you in one way or the other. Will crowdfunding not lead to more of corruption? No, no, it is standard practice. I actually believe that crowdfunding would help to eliminate that, because if 1 million people come together to support your campaign, will 1 million people ask you for favors? If it's a people-driven, people-owned thing, I think it actually eliminates the concern regarding that. And it's not unusual for people. People are within their rights to want to support whoever they want. There's another question about how to establish contact and partner with government agencies. So NOA, I know, has chapters across all the states. You might be better off writing a letter. And then when you do, or try to find a contact within that agency that can help you follow up on your letter. Because it's very common for people to write government agencies. And sometimes letters could end up in one department or another. And even the person that you have addressed a letter to might not see it at all. So trying to just find somebody within that organization that can help you follow up so that you know what is happening with your letter and what the feedback is. I'm very sorry about that, but it could be quite tough. And then again, they receive a lot of letters usually. So it's just patience, I guess. And then the issue of social media, a lot of people don't run their social media themselves. So when they get, sorry, please, be quiet. So when they get messages, the lack of a response is not because that person doesn't want to respond to you. It could just be, one, they receive a lot of messages, and two, they're not they're not the ones who are actually in charge of their account. So when it comes to high-ranking government officials, especially the relatively older ones, you will find that their accounts are managed. Even for the younger ones too, depending on their portfolio, their accounts are usually managed by an aide or an assistant, or even sometimes it's a volunteer that is running the account, and they might not even know about it. So that happens as well. I'm very sorry about that experience. You may share your proposal with the team at Electoral College, and they will share with me, and I will look through. And then if there's something that, because my office as well is focused on civic education and political literacy, so if there's something that my office as well can do, I will let you know through Electoral College to God willing. Another thing, of course, to consider is the fact that government agencies usually have very little funds to work with. Essentially, whatever it is that they're able to spend on has to have been budgeted for. They might have a small PR budget, but then it's usually not so much. So, and then if it's not a revenue generating agency, that also limits how much they're able to commit to, initiatives like yours. So sometimes a lack of response is because they just don't have the capacity to support what it is that you're proposing. It's not because the idea is not good or because they don't want to respond to you. They must get a lot of proposals, but then the resources also matter. Contrary to what most people think, there's actually no money when in most government agencies. So they also have to seek support from the private sector, development sector, and other such organizations. On running without money, I believe that has been addressed already. Leverage on, if you're able to leverage on a bandwagon, excellent. If it's a party that is not strong where you are, so there are no like strong contenders, wonderful for you. If you're able to get that ticket and then there's a strong candidate, that's an easy way into office. So that could actually work. And I saw a comment about how people elected on the platform of, I think LP have now moved to other parties and that it doesn't speak well about young people. So the thing is, when it comes to politics, politics is not an emotional thing. It's one thing to win an election, right? To have a platform through which you win an election. It's another to be able to maintain that platform such that people can continue to return. And as far as I know, there are like internal divisions that often lead to people leaving political parties. So there are quite a number of issues that may have informed those decisions made by those people. I don't know really about the particulars of each case, but politics could be a bit complicated. As long as they deliver, I think if they deliver and they do well and they seek re-election and you think they've earned it based on their performance, then please support them. We need to support young people once we're certain that they actually do have the good intentions and that they've done well with the opportunity that has been given to them. But then ultimately, it's your decision to make. Practical steps to enter politics without being sidelined after elections. So I would say forge relationships like as directly, forge direct relationships as much as you can with key leaders. It helps more when you're like within their immediate circle or there aren't so many degrees of separation. And again, it's also important to be patient. Politics is not, sorry, please hold on, be quiet. So politics, sometimes you're not always going to get results immediately. And then another thing you can do is also to leverage and see how you can promote your own brand or seek out opportunities for yourself as an individual within that political party system. So visibility helps. There are people that just because they're very visible on social media, they get like appointed or they get invited into certain things to be part of certain things. So try to figure out how you as a young person can be visible and figure out how you can add value to your party and to your candidate and how you can be very visible while doing so. So if, for instance, you have a governorship candidate that you support, you're very out there with your campaign, you join a group or you start a group to support that person, you canvass for elections, make sure you promote everything you do. The upside to this is it might not even be that person that eventually appoints you. The candidate might not win. They might win and then they might not appoint you. But the fact that you're making yourself a visible young person within that party means that opportunities will begin to seek you out. It might not be them directly, it might be somebody else. It could be a commissioner, it could be a legislator. There's always an opportunity. There's always a chance to meet people, especially now in the age of social media. So just identify how you can add value. If it's you, maybe you do some analysis, maybe you're promoting something, just identify how you can add value, do that and ensure that everything you do is properly promoted and properly documented. So you can actually show that this is what you've been up to. And even if that appointment does not come, try and attend party events, continue working on your youth mobilization within your political party. It might also be setting the stage for you yourself to someday occupy elective office. So whatever you're going to do, do it. And the issue of being sidelined, it's not always that politicians stand up and say, I'm going to win and then I'm going to forget everybody. No, in a lot of cases, it's usually not like that. It's that after they win, it now becomes an issue of interest. It could be a governor having to appoint commissioners. You want to strike balance within senatorial districts, within local governments. There's only so many SSAs and SAs that a governor can appoint. There are only so many positions that can be filled. So sometimes it's not because they want to sideline people. It's just that so many different interests. There's probably one leader somewhere that they have to take into consideration, another pressure group that they have to take into consideration. So just continue to work and don't be disheartened if you don't get the results that you're seeking immediately. It does not mean that an opportunity will not come in future. And it does not mean if you want something, maybe you're aiming for commissioner, you don't get it. You might be appointed to something else that is a good alternative and that you can still make the most of. And I would also advise young people generally, as you're working in politics and working to be visible, also work to improve yourself and actually have a very good CV so that when the opportunity comes, you are qualified on every front. You're a politician, you're a technocrat, you have everything that it takes to actually occupy the position that you're looking for. Then how to navigate politics of loyalty. Politics in Plateau is different from where you're from. So essentially, I would say look at the terrain, right? And then figure out what might be the best option for you. So if you're right in a place where there's one Oga at the top and then it's him that decides this is who goes for what within this party, you don't have to be in that party if you don't agree with that leadership style, but you also have to be pragmatic in your approach. And then again, if you choose that kind of system, you also need to be open to alternatives and also understand that people invest in things. So if you join a party today and you're working, you start working for a candidate and then the candidate wins, you don't get appointed or something, somebody else gets it. You don't know how long they've been in that system and how much effort they've put in. These things, it's like they compound. So just continue to give your best. You might not get a direct opportunity. You can aim for local government chairman and then you don't get it and they appoint you supervisor. You could aim for maybe House of Assembly, you don't get it. You could be appointed an SSA to the governor. Just what I generally advise young people, especially in larger parties where there's so much interest, everybody's vying for something, is whatever you get, whatever you're offered, as long as you know that it is an opportunity. If it is public service that is a priority, then you take it and you make the most of it. Sometimes you just need an opportunity to prove yourself and to actually show that you have all it takes to be trusted with more before more is then offered to you. So just put in the work and do whatever you have to, for a start. So in places like what should describe a plateau, they could vote across different parties for different positions. It shows that it's a highly enlightened electorate, in my opinion. That's not always going to be the case in a lot of places. So again, just look at the terrain of where you are and where you want to run, and then decide if running is not what is going to work. Again, a lot of us, running is what we have in mind, but it's not the only avenue through which we can serve Nigeria. It's not the only thing that we can do. The odds of being elected are actually pretty low for most people. So think about alternatives and then, forge those relationships within your political party system. Speak with key leaders. If you're not able to reach the main leader himself, forge relationships with other people, let them mentor you, learn from them, be willing to learn because we're all new to this and we're all just learning the rope. So you never really know. It could be from proving your mettle in one thing that you're now noticed or you're introduced to something. So again, it all depends on the system within which you choose to work. And if you choose that kind of system, then you just have to be strategic and just work within it. It's a gradual process, but eventually, by God's grace, you'll get to where you want to be. So I think that's it for now. I'm afraid I have to go, so I won't be able to take any more questions. My genuine apologies to others who perhaps had questions, but I think I've taken the ones that I also saw in the comments.
Yeah, I want to believe your extended and comprehensive responses would have probably ticked the boxes for every other intending persons who want to ask questions. We want to once again thank you for your time. Thank you for your insightful session and class as always. Thank you, and we wish you all the best in your endeavors. And we can't wait to have full information about your leadership academy. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And have a good evening.
You too.
And ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of today's class.
Thank you, ma.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma.
Thank you, ma. God
Thank
bless
you.
you, ma.
We
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
you.
Thank you very much, man.